Hello guys, welcome again to my channel. Today I'm gonna make a review for this brand new Mastech MS8268 multimeter that it's fairly new on the market. It has a very good price for the quality it has, and we're gonna go through some details of this multimeter in case you're interested, and I'm gonna show you what the box of the multimeter contains, and at the end of this video we're gonna do some comparisons between my old Fluke 875 and this multimeter. Of course you're gonna say that yeah, I know these two multimeters are two multimeters that belong to different categories of multimeters. This is a multimeter designed for beginners, and on the other hand Fluke 87 is a multimeter that it's dedicated to factories and industrial measurements, shops and professional people. We're gonna start by inventorying the functions. As you can see, both multimeter can measure continuous alternating voltage, millivolts. They even have special scales for millivolts. They have resistance measurement, they have continuity buzzer, they have diode measurement, both of them. They have capacity measuring, they have current measuring, and both of the multimeters pretty much have the same functions. They have the hold function, they have the relative function, which allows you to set another base for the measurement, just in case you have some tolerances at the beginning of the measurement. Both multimeter have a manual range function. So from this point of view they are very similar, I could say. The only difference is that Fluke, the Fluke multimeters, they have a temperature measurement, which is not included in this model of MS8268. It's only included into the MS8221 multimeter and some other multimeters from Mastech. One thing that I realize it's very important from my point of view is that this multimeter has signaling for accidental wrong connection of the leads. For instance, I set up the multimeter on amps and it keeps flashing the lead that I must connect. When I remove this lead from here, it stops beeping, and when I put it here, it's turning off the light. Okay, so this thing is also true for the Fluke multimeter. So if I connect the Fluke multimeter to amp meter and then I switch to volts, it will beep because it won't let me connect a voltage between the leads that support a high current. So from this point of view, I can say that Mastech multimeters, they are and especially this model, it's very good for beginners and for cases like this when you actually forget. Okay, so when you buy the multimeter, it comes with this box and these accessories. This is a connector that will allow you to connect here capacitors in this clip leads here, in these clip holes. You just insert the capacitor here, and it will measure the capacitance. And for some certain multimeters you also have the possibility of connecting a K-type thermal couple, temperature sensor for measuring the temperature. And of course it has the transistor meter, so you can actually connect PNP NPN transistor types for measuring. So much for this accessory. By the way, with the Fluke you cannot measure transistors, you can only measure the diodes of the transistors between the base and collector and base and emitter. You can measure those junctions, basically those diodes, and you cannot determine the transistor factor. So from this point of view, I could say that Mastech has a plus in this extra function that it has. Okay, it also comes with some caps that are designed for protecting the tip of the lead. So whenever you're measuring something on the PCB, you won't risk to short circuit something there. This is for better accuracy. Okay, and these caps right here are the other ends, are for the other ends of the leads. This is what comes in the package, and of course the user manual that provides accurate details, accurate electrical details about the multimeter. Now for the comparison part, we're going to try to measure some components that I have here with both multimeter. First of all, we're going to measure some voltages to see what is the difference between them in measuring continuous voltage, for instance. So we're going to set both multimeters on continuous voltage. I have my power supply already set to a certain voltage. We're gonna connect both multimeters in parallel like this, and we're gonna read them both in the same time. So from this point of view, I could say that they are pretty much the same, with the exception of course that the MS8268 has only 2 digits after the decimal point, and the Fluke has better resolution from this point of view. But if you buy this multimeter for measuring continuous voltages, I can say that it's a very, very good deal. In what comes measuring alternating voltages, it's going to be a difference here, not because this Mastech it's not so precise as the Fluke, but because Mastech is not a true RMS multimeter. So Fluke, on the other hand, it makes some very rigorous mathematics there, calculating the root mean square of the samples, of the sampled signal, and because of this it's able to provide a very very precise, effective measurement of the alternating sign voltage. From this point of view, the Mastech doesn't have the opportunity of making such a calculation of the signal. Okay, so we're going to measure some alternating voltages here. Okay, just to compare them. Yes, I know I forgot to switch the scale. Hey, what do you know? It's not so bad. So assuming that you have a very good sine wave for your signal, actually the firmware inside the Mastech MS8268 is able to somehow calculate this without so much error. So from this point of view, I declare myself satisfied. Check this out. The indications are pretty much the same. So the error is very, very, very small, less than 1%. from this point of view. So there is another plus from my side from this point of view. Okay, in what comes measuring some ohms, some resistances. I have here a tweezer that I will connect. Yes, I know you're gonna ask me. It's my invention. I will connect this tweezers clip leads to my to the leads of the multimeter, and I'm gonna measure some SMD resistors right here. So the Mastech says 329 ohms for this resistor. Okay, on the other hand, I'm gonna connect it to my Fluke here. So it's 329, that's the measurement for an SMD resistor of 330 ohms. My Fluke says 329. Okay, so from this point of view I can say that there is not so much of a difference between them. Alright, so that's a good thing, that's a very, very good thing. It was every penny from this point of view. Back to the Mastech multimeter, I want to show you something. When I'm measuring something, you notice that the auto scale shifts the scales there internally, basically. So I start the measurement and I have to wait a few seconds until I have a final result of the measurement. This speed of the measurement, it's not something that it's very good from my point of view, especially when you are measuring capacitances or resistances, because if you don't have a tweezer like this and you want to measure an SMD resistor, for instance, using only the clip leads, by the way, this is the best way to do it. You just cross your tips like this, and you do it like this. If you do it like this, it will just jump between the tips. You have to stay steady there for a few seconds, and that's not very convenient from my point of view. If you have some oxidized leads or something there that are not making very well contact, you will have to spend some very good amount of time just to get a very fixed position and to wait for 3 or 5 seconds until the entire scale is shifting and you reach a very comfortable position for reading. From this point of view, the Fluke beats the speed of the Mastech, and I can say this is a drawback of the Mastech multimeter. Another thing that I've noticed, and I'm going to show it to you right now, if I'm trying to measure a simple LED, you know, like when you buy a multimeter, this is the things that you would like it to have implemented, like measuring an LED, measuring a diode, measuring some resistances and some continuous voltages there. That's the minimum requirement from my point of view. I want to measure this LED and it won't measure it because the voltage of this function, it's not enough to make it open. So for this LED I need 1 volt or something, and it doesn't even provide that volt to open this diode, and it won't measure it. If I'm trying to measure a rectifying diode, it will measure it very well actually, but if I'm trying to measure an LED, it won't do it. So this is another minus from my point of view. Of course, if I try to measure the LED using my Fluke, it will measure it. Oh, so actually the voltage of the diode, as you can see, it's 2.6 volts. The voltage of this particular LED. So maybe Mastech is not so bad. Maybe you can actually measure LEDs that do open at 1 volt. I don't know, I haven't tried that. I just saw this thing and I wanted to show it to you. Okay, so you saw that. Maybe it's because the internal battery of the Fluke 87, it's a 9 volt battery, and this Mastech multimeter, by the way, I can show you the insides of it, I can show it to you too. This Mastech multimeter only has some AAA batteries, and more exactly 3 of them. So just for the record, I'm gonna open the multimeter back case, back lid, to show the inner aspect of it. So it doesn't look very bad, it's actually looking very professional. It has this fast burning fuse here, and all the insides are looking very professional. It's not such a, you know, cheapish aspect of the multimeter. So from this point of view, I really enjoy it. I really recommend it from this point of view. Now, I wanted to measure some capacitors. We come to the capacimeter. Okay, let's compare it. If I'm measuring a capacitance with my Mastech, I have a 100 nanofarad capacitor right here. Measure. And waiting, of course, for the scale to shift up. The Mastech actually shows 105 nano, whereas my old Fluke shows 107 nano. I can live with this. It's a very good precision from this point of view. If I'm trying to measure with the Fluke a larger capacitance, it will show, for instance, this capacitor is 470 microfarad. It's written on the case to be a 470 microfarad, and if I'm trying to measure it with my Mastech, it won't show anything, because Mastech can only measure up to 200 micro. At least this is how it says on the specifications of the multimeter. But the truth is, I never successfully measured any capacitance that is greater than, I don't know, 10 microfarads or something like it. And it's the same problem with having to wait very much for a measurement. So from this point of view, it's not so good, but given the price of this multimeter, I think it's a very good and reliable one. So I recommend it from the bottom of my heart. Now, thank you guys for watching. It's been a pleasure to be able to show you this review of this Mastech MS8268 multimeter. If you'd like to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and leave some comments there. See you next time.